Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where you are tonight, but tonight we are in Harmontown. Let us waste no time in bringing up the stars, the mayor, the aldermen, the corrupt council people. First to the stage, the mayor of Harmontown, Dan Harmon. You know him. You love him. God bless him.
Thank you.
You also know him, Spencer Crittenden. If you don't know him, I don't know what you've been doing. Here he comes. And are we going to bring up the most illustrious, most beautiful Steve Levy?
No, let's leave him out there for a little bit.
That's what I thought. That's
Let's
the
let him
name,
sweat.
Steve Levy.
Welcome back to Harmontown. Thank you. We are back at our old home, but we are not violating any permits that I know of because there's no audience.
There's like 40 sewing machines out there with people at them. People don't know about this, but other than that, we're good, right?
So I thought, I thought, you know, it wasn't really working in the VO booth. We could go back there when we wanted to.
It was more the tech kind of was more challenging at the booth, right? Because we have this whole kit and caboodle that we then have to fit into this tiny room that's also set up for its own recording stuff.
We do have so much more equipment than the booth can make useful, and the equipment was used with subscriber money to try to make the show better for subscribers. They're the people that we really care about, even if there's a lot less of them. We love our free listeners, but we want to impress the subscribers, and when we move to the booth, it's like even though those people, you know, probably are kind of irritated by the live audience sometimes, it's like, you know, we really missed that stage, so we figured it out. There's no more ingredients missing. No,
this is perfect.
No, the audience is missing, and it's no. I wanted to do. Did you ever hear that Andrew Dice Clay tape the day the laughter died?
No, please.
Or like a Neil Hamburger thing, or like there's something really fun and wrong and painful about like just
format
performances, right? In spaces where there's the glaringly missing thing is an audience reacting. And I just wanted to see if that what that did to my energy and stuff. Now
there's no jealousy, which is great because there's always a little bit of jealousy between the people who live streamed and watched it and those people who had to wait and then just listen to it.
Yeah, who knows what relationship they had. Also, we found out our numbers were wrong. Like we were wrong.
It turned out it was fake news.
Yeah.
What?
We shouldn't have trusted Steve's numbers when they came from Breitbart.com.
We started, we shouldn't go to Earwolf's news site for our podcast numbers.
Right.
We thought we were tanking. It turns out Ackerman's just on a warpath. He spent 8 hours golfing with the Japanese Prime Minister today. I still don't believe that hair is real. Ackerman, we have beef. Is Ackerman still Earwolf?
No.
Okay.
But you know who is Earwolf, I think, is maybe Brandon?
Well,
don't you have an Earwolf podcast?
I do have. I don't know if we got renewed or what.
Oh,
the deal
okay.
is,
it was a seasonal.
It's a really sore subject.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm not sorry. I was kidding.
I thought Ackerman was still at Earwolf in a capacity because he has a couple shows, right?
I think he does his own shows, and I think he might be like a consulting producer or something, but I don't think he's involved in the day-to-day that he used to be.
I think he was like one half step ahead of me in trying what I have now tried, which is like I kind of got into bed with Farrell, and like I was like let me help this. Now we know the truth.
What is the truth?
The podcasting industry is the stakes are not high enough for any kind of satisfying competition. Don't worry, we're all friends. It's just like it's a I don't know if you call it a buyer's market or a seller's market, but it's just sort of like, you know, it's if you're podcasting, you're doing it for funsies. I think unless you're like My Favorite Murder or it's like it's like a sea of gold panners. Man. See, this is where the audience would bail me out. They'd be like, the word gold reminds me of something. I'd be like, fuck you guys for talking. Anyways, I don't want to talk about the podcasting industry except to say if you have a podcast out there, we love you. Wish you luck. It's a great medium. I actually do have a great podcast recommend. It's in the vein of like, I mean, there's podcasts that you listen to because they're organic and anything can happen and there's no preparation, so you might accidentally listen to 2 hours of a horrible windbag just like trying to find his way. And I can recommend some of those to you too. But there's the produced ones, and I among them are true crime ones. There's true crime ones that are sloppy. There's ones that are good and bad because of that. I just listened to Crime City? That's the one that the guy that did the Jinx is doing, or has done 2 years ago, and I'm just finding it now. But it's a really like super produced podcast series about Providence, Rhode Island, which is like I didn't know it was like this super mobbed up town. It's like the third most mafia city after New York and Chicago, but it's like the tiny little, I don't know.
No, spent a little time there. Buddy Cianci, very corrupt politician.
It's a really interesting. I mean, this is an amazing story because they're able to tell the story of Providence, Rhode Island, and its relationship with crime through the shoes of its own mayor, who runs as an anti-corruption, anti-crime Republican candidate, ends up taking Democratic help from the mob, and it's just great. It's that thing of like how dirty are you willing to get to clean up your town?
So is it like a one shot story? It's not it's not like
it is. I mean, I assume.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like The Wire. Like they'll finish the Buddy,
and then they do a different season.
The story, and then they'll be like, also Providence had a problem with its water treatment plants, and everyone will go, where's Stringer Bell?
I just listened to this podcast called Dirty John, and it's a 6 episode one shot true crime podcast that makes you hate old people. That's what it did to me.
Oh God! I mean, well, yeah. I bet that was. I listened to that.
Oh boy.
Dirty John was. Well, because the mom is subjecting her children to.
That's the thing.
Risk.
It's like the depths you must sink. Like I don't want to get too spoilery. That's the thing. But like the depths you have to sink to like do that to your family. It's like that's what I hate about old people.
When you're doing it because you're lonely, that still sucks, right?
Yeah. No. I mean,
I'm sure Donald Trump is lonely when he doesn't have money.
Right. And she was a victim of domestic abuse and bad relationships, it seems. So it's like she has like not like she's sick or whatever, but she's kind of in this cycle. So it's like not all she needs help too, but it's still. I mean, you got to watch it. Or listen to it. I listened to it in one night. You can listen to it on 1.5 speed without losing any quality. So do that.
Yeah. Have you listened to this one? Up and Vanished.
No.
This kid that sounds like Chris Pratt, and for the first episode is him explaining he doesn't know how to do a podcast, and then he calls his grandma for help. It couldn't be more like if you wanted to create anti-millennial propaganda, it's like he's just finding his way, and we can make fun of him because the guy's probably a billionaire now because it's like a hugely popular podcast, but he's just like, I really wanted to do a true crime podcast because I like listening to them. And so then I found myself, I picked a case, and then I was like, wait, doesn't my grandma live around there? And then he calls her, and then like they talk about it for a while. Spoilers for the next 5 minutes if you're going to listen to 900 episodes of it. Cover your ears. I'll be really quick. Goes through the thing, basically kind of just casts the same aspersions that the public's been casting on Reddit onto the usual suspects who, helping drive that shame onto their life, and then a random dude comes forward and says, I did it, and then the rest of the podcast is him advertising a tour he's going on and doing interviews with people about his podcast and whether or not it helped.
But just like the Missing Richard Simmons podcast.
Yeah, I mean it's better. It's better for people. I'd rather live in a world where people just had access to shit and we're just trying shit.
I want to know what are good numbers, what are bad numbers, since we know the numbers. We don't have to say your numbers, but
it appeared that we lost 80% of our listenership.
Good.
It turned out that wasn't the case.
The reason was because we were looking at, apparently someone started using a different tracker for counting. I have no idea how this works, but in effect, they split the numbers down the middle, and we were looking at.
It's like if you hired someone to watch numbers, and then 2 seconds into the job, you fired him, and then assumed that was the numbers for the whole thing. And it turned out you hired another guy, but you didn't know his numbers. That's basically what happened.
But it was a good chance for us to realize we give zero fucks. I think.
That was the conclusion we drew. Is that we're not too bummed.
But not in a punitive, aggressive way for you. Like, obviously, I'm here and I'm excited mostly about you, and so is Chris Baruff, our director, and Zach, our audio guy. Like we it's you that we really care about. I'm pointing at the camera for you shitty audio listeners. Sorry, I'll tell you guys later during a MeUndies commercial that I love you more than them. But no, there's no acrimony here. This is the experiment that I wanted to do. I'm gesturing like between me and the camera because I always, it's just part of my like weird, can you monetize the internet hobby? The only answer so far being, yeah, if you're
Mark Maron,
if you're Mark Maron or porn, but anyways, I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to bore you with other shit.